Hello and welcome to the Spandex and Wine podcast. I'm your host, Robin Hackney, and I'm so happy that you're here. This podcast is a place for conversations about balancing a healthy lifestyle and being happy. More specifically, happy hour. Together, we'll explore all things wellness and wine. I hope you learn a little, laugh a lot, and along the way, know you're not alone on this balanced wellness journey. Ready to jump in? Pour something in your glass that makes you happy because it's time for Spandex and Wine. Hello and welcome to the Spandex and Wine podcast. I'm your host, Robin Hackney, and I'm thankful that you're here. Today's guest is Jackie, also known as the Mindful Nutritionist. She is a registered dietitian specializing in weight loss, bariatrics, and childhood obesity. She works with adults, kids, and families who are overwhelmed with how to lose weight and are tired of dieting so they can feel confident in their bodies, enjoy food without feeling guilty, and finally lose weight and keep it off for good. She gives you the tools and guidance that you need to finally transform your mind and body so you can achieve the results you've been longing for years. I know you're going to enjoy this episode. Here is Jackie. Well, hey, Jackie, welcome to the Spandex and Wine podcast. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. It's a long time coming.
Yes, we've tried multiple times, but here we are. And unfortunately, right now in Kansas, there's a severe storm. So I hope that we get through this.
Oh, well, hopefully I can bring some sunny San Diego into the feed for you.
That sounds amazing. Yes, please do. Please do. But we do need the rain, so I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
So Jackie, I can't even with your story. Wow. Wow. I mean, there's so many things. You're the mindful nutritionist. There's so many things that we could talk about, but your story is so powerful and you've been in so many different places that people can relate to you. So if you wouldn't mind, let's just hear your story.
Yeah. Oh boy. I actually just put out a podcast episode today about one step forward, two steps back. And I got super emotional because I was like thinking about like my story. I was like, oh my God, all the shit that I went through and like it made me who I am. So for those of you that don't know me, hi, my name's Jackie, better known as the Mindful Nutritionist. And I've been through my own 65-pound weight loss journey. And I've been able to maintain it for the last 14 years, but it was not all, what did they say? Prairie and roses and like flowers and things like that. And I have been through lots of ups, lots of downs. I have struggled with my weight my entire life. And I also struggled with an eating disorder for about 6 years after my weight loss journey. So again, there's just been lots of swinging the pendulum from one side to the other. So I really had to learn how to heal my relationship with food and my body and shift my goals from moving away from skinny and thigh gap and size 0 and 100 X amount of pounds. Because that's where I was really stuck in my eating disorder. And that unfortunately led me to struggle with fertility and getting pregnant. So I had to go through IVF with my daughter. And currently right now I'm 23 weeks pregnant naturally with a baby boy. So I feel like it's finally, thank you. I feel like I get to say like I've come out on the other side, but I tell my clients all the time that I'm just like you. I work with hundreds of women who go through the ups and downs of weight loss. But what I've mastered is moving away from these weight loss fads, constantly feeling overwhelmed with food, constantly picking apart my body. And don't get me wrong, I still have my days. But I really have found an incredible method through mindful eating of how to permanently and sustainably lose weight while eating the foods you love. I believe women should have their cake and eat it too. I was just talking to someone who, put on her food journal, her eating, a chocolate chip cookie. And she's like, I can't believe I'm down 10 pounds eating a fucking cookie. And I was like, yeah, you are. And like, that's what I never had that ability. Like I was counting points and peanut butter was, half my amount of points at the age of 12 when I started. And and now with semaglutides and GLP-1s and, just so many quick fixes being promoted and pushed in our faces, like coming from, I used to be a bariatric dietitian, so I have a lot of experience with that stuff because that's what we used before they went into surgery. And it just makes me so sad that it's like every single year there's just some other shit out there. And I'm only one person to fight it, but I'm going to keep fighting it because
Yes.
I believe women of all ages, I don't care if
Hmm.
you're 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, I have clients in their 70s losing weight with me, all by working with their body.
Hmm.
And it's just about really starting to listen to your body, understanding it. And of course, it's healing from the inside out. So if you've been struggling with your weight, if you've been struggling with food and yo-yo dieting off and on, and, find yourself saying, oh, I'm 50, I'm in menopause and I can't lose my belly fat and blaming it on all these things. No, there's nothing to blame. It's just
Yeah.
start figuring out what works best for you. And that's what I help women figure it out.
Yeah, no, I share your frustration with some of these fad diets and other maybe professionals thinking that there's a cookie cutter way and everyone should be fit into that. And that's just not true. You're right. You have to listen to your body. You have to find what works for you. And you and I, we could tell people exactly what to eat. We could tell people exactly what to do, but they're not going to do it if they don't put in the work themselves and they figure it out themselves. We're just guides for them. You had said that you started with Weight Watchers at 12, but I read also before that, like you had people making terrible comments when you were just a young girl to you. That just
Yeah.
breaks my heart.
No, I'll never forget. I was 9 years old and I come from a big South African Jewish family. So boundaries and filters don't exist. And my grandpa, who was my best friend, out of love, just said something like, oh, like your polkas are getting bigger. And he was referring to like my thighs, my legs, and like
Yeah.
to call, like, think of what a chicken polka, like
Uh-huh.
it's a Yiddish term, but like think of like what a chicken leg looks like. It's not like a skinny little thing. It's like top and round. Like,
Yeah.
so it was just kind of like, excuse me. And then when my parents emigrated from South Africa and came to the States, and again, it's so funny because I love my parents. I can't blame them. But like, I was sent to school with a Chipotle burrito for lunch. Like my
Mm.
mom just like, oh, there was so much fast food and it made her life easy. Like I would get, 12 donut holes was a snack after school. Like she
Oh,
didn't know,
wow. Yeah.
but she
Yeah.
didn't know any better, right? She was like, oh, there's a
Mm-hmm.
donut. Oh, here it comes in 12. Like, and I didn't know any better. I ate it all. So
Mm-hmm.
to me, I just never had the concept of like what a health, how to nourish my body. So then as I got older, and I kept gaining weight because I was eating like shit.
Mm-hmm.
I was being fed shit. And then when I was being told like, oh, you're fat, oh, you're obese, oh, this, you need to lose the weight. And I was just kind of like, excuse me. So I will never place blame on anyone else because if anything, I had the ability and the choice to make decisions, especially as I got older. And that's why I'm grateful that that happened because now, as my daughter is 2, I'm catching myself when I say, like, good
Mm-hmm.
girl to Olivia. Like, if she finishes, and even my mom still does it. And I'm always like,
Yeah.
no, not good girl. Or last night, we were having dinner with Todd, my husband's parents. And my father-in-law said something like, "Oh, you have to finish your we had like grilled zucchini before she could have her ice cream." I said, "No, she doesn't." And he was like, "Excuse me?" I was like, "No. If she is done with her zucchini and she wants some ice cream, she can have some ice cream." And I never had that, and that's where I literally put my foot down, and I believe that, like, I took her for froyo before dinner and my husband Todd was like, "Wait, but you didn't have dinner." I was like, "So what?" Like,
Yeah.
I have a beautiful memory taking my daughter to Yogurt Land and
Mm-hmm.
having a treat. Oh, I like kind of want to cry. Like, it was such a beautiful
Yeah.
thing. And like, but I didn't have that. Mine was like, you got to eat your veggies first. You can only get up until you clean your plate. Like, who here
Mm-hmm.
is a part of the clean your plate club? And it's like,
Yeah. Yeah.
no wonder why I ate 12 donuts because I was told you have none or you have all. So it's really important to me that I'm practicing the things that I did not have as a child and stopping diet culture in my family,
Mm-hmm.
stopping it so it doesn't keep passing down. And now I'm trying to equip other women. I just got off with a client who is 60 and she's like, I can't believe I'm like unwiring 60 years of F
Yeah.
factor and maple syrup diet and all of these things. I'm like, but it's not your fault. It really
Yeah.
isn't. It's society. It's what, like you said, doctors coming in and just being like, okay, here's metformin. Okay, here, you can try Ozempic, or just, eat 800 calories a day, or the
Ugh.
HCG, just all the shit that's out there. And I cannot believe that every single year there's something different. Like, even when I see some of these like carnivore and like eating beef tallow and spinach is toxic and oats are going to kill you. And I'm like, what are we doing, people? Like,
Yeah.
you are causing more stress and inflammation and cortisol levels going up than the little bit of Fruit Loops that this person is going to eat. Like, let's be
Yeah.
real. Like, people cannot go to a grocery store without fearing, what the hell can I eat? Like air? Like, there's
Yeah.
just nothing left. It's so sad.
Yeah. Yeah. And I've said it many times, like you read enough and you listen to enough that everything is bad for you, even water. Don't drink
Mm,
too much. Like you can
yep.
get too much water.
Even just like, it's so funny. We were at a wedding and we had the boxed water. I don't know if you've ever had that before. Like the
No.
fancy, it comes in a box. I'm like, why the hell? I'm like, of course, like I am all about protecting the planet. But like when we were drinking it, it had this like aluminum taste to it because of
Oh,
like the inside. I'm like, what are we like? It's just like, can't I just get some real water? Like,
yeah.
it's ridiculous. So yeah, the amount, it's so funny when my clients, it's just hilarious. They're like, I'm going to ask you a question. You're probably going to tell me I'm crazy, but they'll ask me like, what do you think about athletic greens? Or what do you think about this? Or like, yeah, as one of my clients posted something about water and like something that you do. And I'm just like, oh my God, just drink your fucking water. Like, you're
Yeah.
fine. Like, you're hydrating. Like, yes, have your coffee. Put your coffee mate. If you like your coffee mate in it, put your little bit of sugar. Live your life. That is not what is killing you. What all the stuff that we're listening to online and the fear mongering, that's what's killing us.
And the stress around it. I mean, oh my gosh, it can be so stressful to try and figure out, okay, what am I going to eat? What can I eat? What can I eat? It's just, it's too much. It's too
Yeah,
much
and
to
especially now that people are like, oh, do this exercise to burn your, this, or oh, do this to do this. And it makes me so sad because it's like false promises for people.
hmm
And I do kind of put blame on coaches because you shouldn't be putting out things that aren't accurate. And I will say, like, that's where I've also had to kind of take a moment to gather my thoughts now with all of the craze of the GLP-1s and coming from a lot of experience with it. But I've also had to really formulate my opinion and make sure that like I'm understanding the facts and I'm understanding these different drugs and the different mechanisms. And people are just out there. It's just so sad. The louder you speak, the more people will
hmm
listen. So the louder you are, we obviously know in, our climate in terms of like, elections and things like that, the louder you are, the more people are going to listen and the more people are going to believe you. So it's really sad because people have massive followings and have
Yeah.
created this like cult like culture, and they'll believe anything. And it's like, oh my God,
hmm
this is bad because it has 4 grams of sugar. And yeah, but so you're only buying that product. It's $60 because he sells it and he says that it's good for you. But like, why don't you look at all of the crazy ingredients in that? And it's just like,
hmm
it just, it's never ending. It's so sad.
Yeah, it is. It is. And, to go back to what you were saying, you have to listen to your body. But I also feel like there are places for, Western medicine. I like to try things naturally first. That's just me. And I've had some people I've asked to be on the podcast and they said, oh, well, I don't know if you want me to be on because I did have a surgery. And I'm like, okay, well, you've kept it off. I mean, that's tough. At least you didn't have the surgery and then go back to everything that you were doing. So I feel like, with anything, you have to make that decision for you.
Oh yeah. Coming from a bariatric background, I am always so excited when I'm talking to people who have been through bariatric surgery because I was very passionate about it. I left this space because of just the medical system has set up patients for failure, which is so sad to me. So that's why I
hmm
decided to build my own practice so I could do something about it. But so I do have clients who are either like post-surgery or who are on GLP-1s. I have a client on Manjaro right now, and she's been working with me and we're consistent. We're working on things, but she's doing it in conjunction, right? She is practicing the mindful eating behaviors and the things that I'm working through with her at the same time, utilizing the medication as a tool. So when I would have these conversations with people before bypass or the sleeve, I would always have to really emphasize that surgery is a tool. It's not something to be
Mm-hmm.
ashamed about. And I do appreciate the conversation that we're having when it comes to obesity, that it is a chronic condition. And it is
Mm-hmm.
sometimes like genetics plays a really big part in this as well. And like, for example, my brother could eat white pasta, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and he still looks like he did when he was 10 years old. And now he's 37 or however old he is. For me, I gain weight very quickly. I put on muscle very quickly. Our bodies are very different.
Mm-hmm.
So I do believe that having a tool to support people when they can't do it on, I don't want to say on their own, but they need the key word is support. It's a
Mm-hmm.
tool in your toolbox. And that's where I struggle when people don't do that. They don't see, okay, it's a tool. They see, oh, this is going to do the work for me. So when I
Yeah.
have conversations, I'll never forget when I first started, I had to pre-op a patient and he was on his third round of bypass. I literally just got the
Oh,
chills.
wow.
How do you bypass 3 times? Like, do you not learn from the first and the second time that like you're not a good
Right.
candidate? Like it's not gonna work. So I think to me, when you find people who are dedicated to make the lifestyle changes and to really again use the tool to support them and like you said, keep it off forever, like that is a huge victory. So kudos to that
Mm-hmm.
person and the multiple people you're referring to because
Mm-hmm.
going through bariatric surgery is a complete life-changing event.
Right.
And I know people in my family who have been through it and unfortunately have gained the weight back and now are on Ozempic or something else. And it just makes me really sad because yeah, you have to put in the hard work. You absolutely
Mm-hmm.
do. But you can also lose the weight and maintain it. And whether you do it through mindful eating, which is what I teach, whether you do it through an approach that feels best to you, whether it is surgery, whether it is GLP-1s, it's nothing to be ashamed of. And I think that's a
Mm-mm.
conversation that we're not having. People shouldn't be ashamed of it. They should be able to say, you know what? I need help, just like you and I coming together to say,
Mm-hmm.
like, I need help. Can you help me? Like, I have a coach. I go to her when I'm struggling. I don't feel bad about it. So I do think that that's really
Mm-hmm.
important that people know if they have to have surgery, if they have to utilize GLP-1s or even just weight loss medications in general, you shouldn't be ashamed, but you should use it
Mm-hmm.
as a tool.
Right. And I feel like a coach could help before that because it's all about mindset. If you go into it with the mindset of, oh, this is going to do everything for me, wow, that's going to be a rude awakening.
Yeah, and that's where people get stuck. It's like I can't tell you how many conversations I've had with people who are now like again kind of seeing like, oh, when I stopped the medication, I didn't do the hard work in the beginning from that's why I always say like healing from the inside out and mindset. Mindset is 90% of weight loss. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, yes,
Of
mindset
everything.
of
Yeah.
I was gonna say mindset is huge a part of life, but like especially when it comes to weight loss, like it's a physical, emotional, and mental transformation. And that's why I always tell people, like, I'm so proud of being able, I lost 65 pounds in a year and a half. Um, but I struggled for so many years after that because I didn't do the mindset work. And that's
Yeah.
why I am determined now to flip it where people come into my program and literally the first module, it's all about mindset and mindful eating and mindful practices and what is mindful versus mindless. Why do you make mindless choices? How do we flip the script? How we rewrite the stories? People just
Mm-hmm.
think, oh, I just need to be good, or oh, I just need this to do it for me. No, because how many times have you been good and self sabotage and started over every Monday? Let's be
Yeah.
real. Like,
Yep.
and it's so funny. You're just talking about on a coaching call. I used to do it with MediFast. It was like I would, be really good for 5 days and then it would like, go to shit and I'd eat all the things. And then Monday would come around and be like, I'm going to do it this week. And it's just so hilarious how many times I had to restart over and
Yeah.
over. And in my head, I like seriously convinced myself. I was like, this is gonna be the time that I stick to it, but it never
Yeah.
happened. Like it never worked. And so that's when I had to like finally realize like this is so stupid. I'm spending money, hundreds and hundreds of dollars
Yeah.
on just this crap that it's not like, sure, I lost weight in the beginning, but like I couldn't maintain it. I wasn't going to eat five little 100-calorie packets. And it just, again, all of these diets set people up for failure. And it's
Yeah.
just like the marketing tactics in the beginning. And even just with these GLP-1s and like Weight Watchers and, integrations and things like that, I just really hope that we're going to not do a disservice to our world,
Hmm.
and I'm very curious what the next few years are going to look like after this.
Oh gosh. Yeah. It's kind of scary. Yeah. And you're right. Like with any of the fad diets or any restricting, of course you're going to lose weight in the beginning. It's going to happen, but it's not sustainable. And so
Yeah.
you are setting yourself up for failure. If you don't mind, let's go back just a little bit because you said that you were gaining weight, but then you also said that you had an eating disorder. So will you take us through that stage?
Yeah. So I lost the weight in a year and a half. I always say mindful eating saved me twice. So when I was working with a coach because that is essential. Because guys, accountability is key when it comes to a sustainable weight loss, hence why I'm a dietitian today. So I was working with my coach and I was really proud. I hit my weight loss goal. And then I didn't know how to stop. And that was the hard
Hmm.
part. No one taught me what maintenance was like. I either knew how to not give a shit and eat the 12 donuts and the Chipotle burrito, or I knew to make, lower calorie decisions and swaps and healthy ice cream and this and that. So I was just kind of like a perfect storm. I'm a type A perfectionist. To me, it's always like, okay, you hit. So, for example, just for reference, I'm short, I'm 5 foot. So, when I say these numbers, I don't want you guys to be like, oh, I need to go for that. But like my heaviest was 170 something. I'm 5 foot again. So
Hmm.
that's for me, that for my frame, that was a lot. And so my goal was 120. And then I got to 110 and I just kept going, going, going. And I
Hmm.
didn't know how to stop. And that to
Yeah.
me was the hardest part because, then obviously by the time I did this all my sophomore year in college, so when I got back to Emory for my junior year, and people were like, whoa. And like, Jackie, you look so good. You look so amazing. And it just fed into the cycle like, oh my God,
Yeah.
people like me. I'm skinny. And like, to me, that's when I switched from health and strength to thigh gap, size 0, skinny. And that was what I was shooting for. So I just kept restricting. I kept running more. I kept restricting. And that's when I really struggled with binge eating because my body was just like, feed me. Like I was
Yeah.
running 10 miles. I was eating probably 600 calories. So my
Oh
body, not
gosh.
only biologically, was like, and I didn't know what was happening. And it's to me, looking back on it, it's so fascinating when I had my binges my body was like literally like, I need to eat. So you need to give me food. So it was so uncontrollable. So it started as more of a biological response. And then it turned
Hmm.
into an emotional because again, it just fucked with my head so much of like, I have no self-control. I can't be around ice cream. I can't tell you how many times I had to replace my roommate's peanut butter jar because I ate the whole thing because again, I wasn't allowed to have it because I was so scarred from Weight Watchers of too many points and I wasn't allowed to have it. So
Hmm.
even if I had a little bit, I didn't have the confidence in myself to have a little bit and not freak out. Like in my head, it was like, oh my God, it's fat. I'm gonna get fat. I'm gonna turn into fat. I already messed up. And then, I just didn't know how to stop. So it was a really like up and down that experience of my eating disorder. My weight fluctuated so much because of my binge and restrict and constant stop and start. And, it makes me so sad the things that I did to my body. I mean, I would literally step on the scale after a run, shower, step on the scale again, go to the
Oh
bathroom,
gosh.
step on the scale again, like probably 4 times within an hour. And if I was below a certain number, I was proud of myself. And I felt good
Hmm.
about myself. But if I was over, of course, I restricted. And I see it in my clients. And like, it's something that I work so hard to break,
Yeah.
moving away from the scale, focusing on non-scale victory. So, I mean, it was a year of up and down. And again, to me, my lowest was 97. And my parents were like very scared when they saw me. And I was very well aware of what was happening, but I
Hmm.
didn't know how to stop. And so a lot of people don't talk openly about eating disorders being a mental disease. And so
Hmm.
to me, from being a type A perfectionist and just not knowing how to find peace and balance, I needed help. I needed support. So that's when I said, like, I cannot keep doing this to myself. Like, I'm not happy. Sure, I am the skinniest I've ever been, but like my clothes were falling off. I couldn't sleep at night. My knees, when they touched, would be so painful. I had to sleep with a pillow between my knees because I was so bony. So
Yeah.
it's so crazy that like I went from being diagnosed as pre-diabetic with non-alcoholic fatty
Hmm.
liver disease and being quote unquote too big, too fat, too obese, all the things. And then I was too skinny. I was
Yeah.
too thin. I was and it's just like, well, I'm damned if I'm do, I damned if I'm don't. So like, I really lost my way. So that
Yeah.
healing process of coming back to mindful eating and asking myself, oh, and also this is when I started like to become, studying to become a dietitian. So like I felt like such a fraud that like how
Sure.
can I teach people these things
Yeah.
when I don't
Yeah.
even have. And it's so interesting. A lot of dietitians, you'll hear their story, and a lot of us become dietitians because we've been through our own experience. And so it took a long time. And I just have to say, like, it took a lot of coaching, it took a lot of therapy, it took a lot of healing. But I was very open with my family about it. I mean, I wouldn't have gotten through it if I wasn't honest with my parents. I moved back home. I decided to take a year off to just work on, myself. Really, the biggest thing was meeting my husband, and I needed to make a decision to say, okay, I can either live a life alone and never let anyone in so they don't know my skeletons, or I can open myself up to this incredible person and heal and have him support me. And so, even just small little things of when he would call out, like, should you be really eating that much fruit? And like that was a trigger to me, right? That's again a memory of like,
Yeah.
should you be really eating that much? And like, I had to explain to, of course, I blew up and like
Sure. Absolutely.
any female probably would, but like, and and genuinely, he was like, Jackie, you had a lot of fruit. I don't want you to get a stomach ache. So like, I had to then rationally be like, oh, Todd loves me and
Yeah.
he cares about me and he wants me to feel good. So we definitely in the beginning of our relationship, I had to explain to him like those comments will trigger me, but I am working on not being so reactive and emotional. So it was very hard. It was so hard. And it's also, I
Yeah.
don't want to say embarrassing, but it was really like it's not something that I wouldn't say I'm not proud of because I am proud of like where I am today and how many people I've helped prevent from the mistakes that I made for so
Yeah.
many years.
Yeah.
But it was, for so many from the age of 9 to the age of God freaking 2027, like to
Hmm.
go through just so I would actually probably confidently say 29, 20 solid years of just up and down and up and
Yeah.
down. Um, but yeah, so to anyone who's struggling, whether you classify as an eating disorder or whether it's disordered eating or whether you just feel preoccupied with your
Hmm.
weight and body and food and all the toxic, like we're talking about, you're not alone and there is a light at the end of the tunnel, but you
Yeah.
have to be able to do that inner work, like we talked about, that hard stuff that no one wants to talk about. And that's why I talk about that in so much inside my program. Like when we do our coaching calls, I'm not telling them this is how you make a healthy swap for this and this is how you order at Chipotle. Like we don't talk about that stuff. That stuff's the easy stuff. We talk about the real meat of, when you step on the scale and you determining your self-worth that day because of that.
Yeah.
how do you get over that? Or how do you get over the hump of feeling like you're not doing enough, or like you're in those two steps back, or when you're a mom and you're trying to take care of everybody and you're traveling and this and that, and you just don't have a minute to yourself. How do you handle all of the stress of life?
Mm-hmm.
So that's the stuff that I always say Ozempic will never do for you.
True.
Keto, intermittent fasting,
Yeah.
maple syrup diet, grapefruit juice, whole 30, all of the things, 75 hard. None of that shit will cover the real hard part of weight loss. And that's the in between the ears.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh gosh. And I read that you stepped away from a very successful career that you had to be able to start your own practice. And I can just, I mean, you're so passionate about it. It's obvious this is what you should be doing. But I have to tell you too that I have no doubt that all of your clients are just so in love with you. But what you offer just to your Instagram followers is amazing. Like your
Aw.
willingness to just give and help. While it might not seem like that much to you, the lists that you give out, like the Costco items that you can get, all the different things that you offer that you don't have to pay for. You're just giving them for free. You're just such a generous person, and thank you.
Oh, that honestly, that made my day because sometimes it's hard. Like
Yeah.
it's not easy to keep up, but I always believe, like pay it forward, right? So to me, for example, like I have a client who was struggling, and so quote unquote in her level of coaching, she doesn't get one-on-one calls with me, but she reached out and I was just like, can I call you in half an hour? And I called her and we spoke, and she wrote the most beautiful thing in our Facebook group, but she was just like, I feel so much better. I spoke to Jackie, I have a game plan. And like, that's like, to me, that's what I feel like has been lost in the coaching space is sometimes that you join these programs and you just like never talk to the person who you like,
Hmm.
like, okay, I'm not bashing anyone if you have like a membership with like thousands of people. There's certain memberships, like for example, I love Amy Porterfield. There's thousands of people and I love the community and I will always support her.
Hmm. Hmm.
But I mean, to me, if I sign up to work with someone, I want to be able to talk to them. And
Yeah.
so when people come and follow me on Instagram and I send them a welcome message, it's so funny. Like, probably most of the people don't respond to it because they're probably like, this is a bot. But like, no, it's me. And like, so some people respond and I'll send them a voice note. They're like, wait, wow, like it's you? I was like, yes, it's me. Like, and I believe that when I give and show people the way, whether you work with me or not, like I'm not the cup of tea for every single person. I totally get
Hmm.
that. But I also believe that it's my duty, especially of all the shit that I've been through, to do my best to help as many women as I can. So whether you get my Trader Joe's or my Costco, my high protein, my low sugar guide, whatever guide you get, and I put a lot of like work into
Yeah,
those
you
like
do. Yeah.
20
You can
page
tell.
pan. Yeah, but so and that's important to me that people know. But the one thing that I want to say about all of that kind of stuff, and especially what I put out with, different recipes and things like that, guys, the food lists, the shopping lists, they're not going to get you the results you're looking for. So that's like, and that's hard for me too, because it's like, I want to support people and I want to give people as many free tools. I have a free course. I have like all the free things. But if you really want the real results, you need the troubleshooting. You need the individualized approach. You need the relationship. And that's why I worked with my nutritionist for 5 years. Five
Hmm.
years. Why? I lost weight in a year and a half, but then I went through a really hard time in my life. I can't imagine not working with Corinne when I was struggling with all of that through all of Emory, through when I studied abroad in Italy. She was always there for me. And so that's why my
Hmm.
clients work with me. So, yes, some clients graduate in 4 months and they've reached their goals and they're ready to fly. But a lot of them have a lot of shit that they have to undo. And it takes time. Like, think about
Yeah.
again the 40, 50, 60 years of diet culture. You're not
Hmm.
going to undo that. A list is not going to do that. So I love and thank you because that makes me feel so much better when I put all of my
Yeah.
love and energy into those things. But also there's a part of me that's just like, oh, I just want to set you up for success. And I just know that this 20-page shopping list
Yeah.
is not going to do that, but it is a step in the right direction. And that's why I
Right.
do that. And that's why I show people, make your life easy. Like that is, if there is
Hmm.
anything that I can teach people, utilize. Like that's why I don't like some of these people that are like, oh my God, pre-made chicken, or like Costco rotisserie chicken. Nah, 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 nah. I'm like, okay, I'm having protein with my dinner tonight because I paid $5.99 or $4.99 for my Costco rotisserie chicken. And I don't have to worry about cooking for Olivia and making
Yes.
something for Todd and this and that.
Yeah.
Make your life easier. And that's when
Yeah.
I say you got to tune out the diet noise.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree. Oh, well, I want you to share what courses you have coming up, how people can find you. You have so much great information. Just tell us all.
Yeah, thank you. So again, I'm hang out mostly on Instagram. I started on TikTok. And I think when I got pregnant with Olivia, I was like, I can't keep up with this. So I hang out mostly on, I still have my TikTok, but I hang out mostly on Instagram. So if you get a message from me, hi, it's me. So make sure that you respond to me. You'll probably get a voice note. But so I have a lot of great, amazing free content on there. And if you're ready to make that permanent change, Mindful Weight Loss Academy, which is my signature coaching program, is the right place for you. So if you are a female from anywhere 20 to 70 years old, it is the place for you. We have an incredibly supportive community. I have different levels and ways that you can work with me. I have a team. I have an incredible dietitian. I have a mindset coach. I have a personal trainer. It's really a one-stop shop. It's
Yeah.
essentially what I needed during my weight loss journey that I did not have. So again, I am here to support you to permanently and sustainably lose weight while eating the foods you love. So you have to never count a calorie or diet ever again. And yeah, if you are like, what is going on with this girl? And I don't really believe her, well, come check me out on my podcast, The Mindful Nutritionist Show. You'll hear a lot of real talk like this, and then also
Yeah.
interviews and clients and all the things. So I would love for you to tune in there. But yeah, send me a message on Instagram or follow on The Mindful Nutritionist Show. And if you want to work with me, check me out, and we'll chat and make sure, again, I'm a real person. So make sure that we
Yeah.
choose a level that works for you.
Yeah.
And I love being able to work with women who are ready to do the hard work. And
Yeah.
it just, to me, sometimes you have to hit rock bottom in order
Hmm.
to get there. So I'm
Hmm.
going to do everything in my power to prevent people from hitting that rock bottom.
That's awesome. I'll put all of that in the show notes. I so appreciate you taking time to be here. I have one more question. This is
Yeah.
this is spandex and wine. So I'm wondering, do you drink alcohol?
Well, I'm pregnant now,
Oh,
so
that's right. Well, not now.
not now. I actually, I used to, but I also, again, as a mindful eater, I
Hmm.
noticed that alcohol just didn't. I'm such a lightweight, and it always affected my sleep, and I never felt good. So
Yeah.
I personally choose that I don't drink because of just the way it makes me feel in my body.
Yeah.
I've been having fun with a lot of mocktails this
Good.
pregnancy,
Yeah.
but I love finding creative ways for people to have low sugar, lower calorie, whether it's alcoholic or non-alcoholic. So I
Hmm.
believe that everyone should be having what feels best to them. To me, I'm going to pass, but I promise I'm still going to be the life of the party, even though I'm stone cold sober. So I'll
I can
remember
see that.
everything.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm way more fun when I'm sober. So
That's awesome. Well, Jackie, thank you so much for taking the time to be here. I really appreciate it.
yeah, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. That was awesome. Thanks, Jackie. Here are a few takeaways. One, sometimes life is 2 steps forward and 1 step back, and other times it's 1 step forward and 2 steps back. Just keep moving in the right direction. 2, skinny and thigh gaps and a certain number on the scale doesn't equal healthy. Healthy is determined by you. Diet trends and exercise fads will come and go. You know your own body and what works. 3, having your cake and eating it too is possible. Working with a professional like Jackie can be super helpful to uncover blocks and get you on the right track. 4, no one else can dictate how you get to healthy, as if it's a final destination. It is all a matter of discovering what works best for you and your body. 5, evening out the ups and downs of weight loss or weight maintenance is key. Yo-yo dieting is so very unhealthy. 6, the Clean Your Plate Club didn't help any of us. Unwire yourself from that mentality. 7, if you read enough, everything is bad for you. Maybe step away from social media a bit and the influencers and discover for yourself what actually works. 8, live your life. Have that cookie. Add your favorite coffee creamer to your coffee. That's not what's killing us as a society. The fear-mongering, the body shaming, and the stress of all of it is what is harming us. Live your life. All right, I hope you check out the show notes and everything that Jackie has to offer. Thank you for listening. If you're enjoying this podcast, be sure to follow Spandex and Wine so you don't miss an episode. To do this, just go to the podcast and click subscribe or follow wherever you are listening. Look for the plus sign or follow button. This is one of the best things that you can do for the podcast. If you'd also be willing to give a 5-star review, that would be amazing and much appreciated. Lastly, please share an episode with a friend or 5 to keep the love going, and join the Spandex and Wine community in our private Facebook group by searching Spandex and Wine. Feel free to reach out to me at any time by emailing info@spandexandwine.com or text me at 913-392-2877. I appreciate you. Thank you.